Sir Lancelot. Sir Lancelot du Lac is the greatest knight of the Round Table, unmatched in combat, but his forbidden love for Queen Guinevere destroys Camelot. Raised by the Lady of the Lake after his father's kingdom fell, Lancelot arrived at Arthur's court and proved superior to every knight. According to Chrétien de Troyes, le Chevalier de la Charrette, Lancelot rescued Guinevere from abduction by Meleagant, solidifying his role as her champion. His affair with the queen created an impossible situation where loyalty to his king conflicted with passion, and this tension defines his character across legends. Through deception involving Elaine of Corbenic, Lancelot fathered Galahad, the pure knight who would achieve the Holy Grail. When caught with Guinevere, Lancelot fought his way out of Camelot, killing several Round Table knights including Gareth and Gaheris, Gawain's brothers. This act turned former friend Gawain into a relentless enemy, and split Arthur's court into factions. The affair provided Mordred the opening he needed to rebel against Arthur. Lancelot went mad twice from guilt and conflict, between love and loyalty. After Arthur's death at Camlan, Lancelot ended his days as hermit, consumed by remorse for his role in Camelot's fall. Sir Galahad. Sir Galahad is the pure knight, Lancelot's son, the only knight worthy to achieve the Holy Grail. Born from Lancelot and Elaine of Corbenic through enchantment, Galahad possessed complete spiritual and physical purity that set him apart from every other knight. His strength came not from martial skill, but from moral perfection, allowing him to accomplish feats impossible for others. When Galahad arrived at Camelot, he sat in the Siege Perilous, a seat at the Round Table that killed any unworthy knight who occupied it, reserved for the purest knight since the table's creation. He carried a shield marked with a red cross, left by Joseph of Arimathea centuries before, which only the destined Grail Knight could bear. According to the Vulgate cycle, during his quest, Galahad healed the maimed king using blood from the Holy Lance and witnessed visions of Christ at Corbenic, the Grail castle. After achieving the Grail, Galahad died shortly after, ascending to heaven. His death symbolized that a knight of such perfect purity could not remain in the imperfect earthly world. He represents the unattainable ideal of chivalry, and provides stark contrast to his flawed but human father Lancelot. Sir Gawain. Sir Gawain, Arthur's nephew and son of King Lot and Morgause, is the most loyal knight to Arthur, but also hot-tempered and vengeful. Gawain possesses a supernatural gift where his strength waxes with the sun, reaching peak at noon, before declining, making him nearly invincible during midday battles. In the 14th century poem Sir Gawain and the Green Knight, he accepts a beheading challenge from a mysterious Green Knight, cuts off the knight's head, and watches as the knight picks up his head and rides away, reminding Gawain he must receive a return blow in 1 year. This test of honor reveals Gawain's complex character, mixing courage with human weakness. His brothers include Gareth, Gaheris, Agravain, and half-brother Mordred, all sons of Morgause. When Lancelot accidentally killed Gareth during Guinevere's rescue, Gawain's love for his youngest brother transformed into an all-consuming vendetta against his former friend. He refused Arthur's attempts at reconciliation with Lancelot, and this refusal prevented the alliance that might have saved Camelot from Mordred's rebellion. Gawain was mortally wounded fighting Mordred's forces, and, according to Mallory, appeared as ghost to Arthur, warning him of the coming final battle at Camlan. Sir Percival. Sir Percival represents the innocent knight raised in isolation who achieves greatness through natural virtue rather than learned courtly manners. His mother, grieving after his father and brothers were killed in battle, raised him in a remote forest away from all knowledge of chivalry and knighthood. When Percival first encountered knights in shining armor, he believed they were angels due to their gleaming appearance and divine bearing. Against his mother's wishes, he left home wearing homemade armor, and according to tradition, she died of grief shortly after his departure. Percival's lack of courtly education led to numerous mistakes, including accidentally causing a maiden's punishment through an innocent kiss, and failing to ask the crucial question during his first encounter with the Grail. In Chrétien de Troyes, unfinished Percival, the story of the Grail from the 12th century, the Fisher King suffers from a wound that can only be healed if the visiting knight asks, "Whom does the Grail serve?" Percival's failure to ask this question, out of overly strict adherence to courtesy lessons about not speaking too much, prolongs the king's agony and the wasteland surrounding his castle. In Chrétien's version, Percival eventually achieves the Grail after learning humility, though later traditions transferred this achievement to Galahad. Sir Tristan. Sir Tristan is the Cornish knight, whose tragic love story with Isolde parallels Lancelot and Guinevere but ends even more darkly. Born as his mother died in childbirth, his name literally means sorrow, foreshadowing his doomed fate. Tristan killed the Irish champion Morholt, but was wounded by the poison blade, forcing him to sail to Ireland disguised as a minstrel seeking healing from Isolde the Fair, who possessed medical knowledge. King Mark of Cornwall sent Tristan back to Ireland to escort Isolde to Cornwall as Mark's bride, but during the voyage, Tristan and Isolde accidentally consumed a love potion meant for Isolde and Mark. According to Thomas of Britain's 12th century account, this potion created an irresistible eternal passion between them. Tristan lived a double life as Mark's loyal knight and his wife's secret lover, demonstrating exceptional skills as warrior, hunter, and harper. Multiple versions of his death exist in medieval sources, with some reporting he was killed by Mark's men with poison, others that Mark himself killed him, and others that he died of despair. In one famous version, Tristan sent for Isolde while dying, arranging a signal of white sails if she came, or black if she refused. Sir Bedivere. Sir Bedivere is one of Arthur's earliest companions, a one-handed knight who remained loyal from beginning to end and performed the crucial final task of returning Excalibur to the Lady of the Lake. Unlike many knights who joined Arthur's court seeking glory, Bedivere appears in the earliest Welsh sources as Bedwyr, one of Arthur's original companions, before the Round Table even existed. He lost his hand in battle, but remained a formidable warrior despite this disability, and Geoffrey of Monmouth's 12th century chronicle includes him among Arthur's most trusted knights. After the catastrophic Battle of Camelot, where most knights died, Bedivere was one of the few survivors who carried the mortally wounded Arthur from the battlefield. Arthur commanded Bedivere to throw Excalibur into the nearby lake, but according to Malory's Le Morte d'Arthur, Bedivere twice deceived his dying king by hiding the jeweled sword instead. The third time, Bedivere finally obeyed, throwing Excalibur into the water, where a hand emerged from the lake, caught the sword, brandished it 3 times, and pulled it beneath the surface. Bedivere then carried Arthur to the shore, where a boat with 3 queens in black waited to take him to Avalon. After witnessing Arthur's departure, Bedivere became a hermit. Sir Kay. Sir Kay is Arthur's foster brother and Camelot's seneschal, the chief administrator who kept the kingdom running while other knights sought glory in quests. Raised alongside Arthur by Sir Ector, Kay initially claimed to have pulled the sword from the stone, though Arthur had actually accomplished the feat and given Kay the sword to avoid attention. Despite this early dishonesty, Kay remained loyal to Arthur throughout his reign, though his personality contrasted sharply with idealized chivalric courtesy. Known for his sharp tongue and sarcastic remarks, Kay regularly mocked newcomers to Camelot and challenged visiting knights, often serving as the opponent heroes would defeat to prove their worth. In Welsh tradition as Kai, he possessed supernatural abilities including going 9 nights without sleep and breathing underwater, but later French romances transformed him into a more comic figure. His role as seneschal meant managing Camelot's daily operations, from organizing feasts to coordinating defenses, work that lacked the glamour of dragon slaying, but proved essential to the kingdom's function. Kay's administrative skills and loyalty mattered more than his abrasive personality, and he represents the reality that running a kingdom requires bureaucrats alongside warriors. According to various sources, Kay died during the final conflicts that destroyed Camelot, remaining loyal despite his flaws until the end. Sir Gareth. Sir Gareth, Gawain's youngest brother, arrived at Camelot disguised as a commoner and worked in the kitchen for a year before revealing his noble blood and proving himself the most virtuous of King Lot's sons. When Gareth first came to Arthur's court, he asked to work in the kitchens for 1 year, refusing to reveal his identity or request immediate knighthood. Kay mockingly nicknamed him Boma, meaning fair hands, because his hands appeared unused to rough labor, not knowing this kitchen boy was actually a prince. After his year of service, Gareth's first quest involved rescuing Lady Lyonesse from the Red Knight of the Red Lands, and along the way, he defeated color-coded opponents, the Knight of the Black Lands, the Green Knight, the Blue Knight, and finally the Red Knight in sequential battles. Lady Lynette, who requested the quest, insulted Gareth throughout the journey, believing him just a kitchen servant, but her scorn turned to admiration as he defeated each progressively stronger opponent. Malory's Le Morte d'Arthur presents Gareth's tale as one of the most complete and beloved stories in Arthurian legend. After revealing his identity as Gawain's brother and son of King Lot, Gareth married either Lynette or Lyonesse, depending on the source. His death came tragically when Lancelot, rescuing Guinevere from execution, killed Gareth, who wore no armor and went unrecognized in the chaos. Sir Bors. Sir Bors is one of 3 knights who achieved the Holy Grail alongside Galahad and Percival, But uniquely among them, he returned to Camelot to report their success and reintegrated into earthly life. Unlike Galahad, who was perfectly pure, and Percival, who was innocent, Bors represented realistic holiness as a married man who had fathered a son, Elian the White, with King Brandagoras' daughter before taking a vow of chastity. This made him an unusual Grail achiever, according to the Quest del Saint Grail in the Vulgate cycle, proving that a knight with earthly attachments could still reach spiritual heights through dedication and virtue. During the Grail quest, Bors faced a moral test where he had to choose between saving his brother Lionel or a maiden being abducted, and he chose to keep his oath by saving the maiden, trusting God to protect his brother, who was indeed saved by miracle. Bors witnessed Galahad's assumption into heaven and Percival's death at the Grail Castle, making him the sole witness who could return and testify to Arthur's court about the quest's completion. After Camelot's fall, Bors survived the final battles and became a hermit alongside Lancelot, living out his remaining years in prayer and penance for the kingdom's destruction. Sir Lamorak. Sir Lamorak, son of King Pellinore, was considered the third strongest knight after Lancelot and Tristan, but his affair with Gawain's mother led to his murder and deepened the divisions, destroying Camelot. The blood feud began when Pellinore killed King Lot of Orkney in battle, making Pellinore an enemy of Lot's sons, Gawain, Gaheris, Agravain, and Mordred. According to tradition, Lamorak compounded this enmity by having an affair with Morgause, King Lot's widow and Arthur's half-sister, who despite her age retained considerable beauty. When Mordred discovered Lamorak with his mother, he killed Morgause in rage, then joined his brothers in hunting Lamorak. In tournaments, Lamorak demonstrated extraordinary prowess, reportedly defeating 30 knights single-handedly, cementing his reputation as one of the greatest warriors. However, strength alone could not protect him from treachery. Gawain, Gaheris, Agravain, and Mordred ambushed Lamorak together, killing him through overwhelming numbers rather than fair combat. Malory's La Morte d'Arthur and the post-Vulgate cycle describe this murder as a dishonorable act that permanently stained Gawain's reputation, despite his status as Arthur's loyal nephew. Lamorak's death demonstrated how cycles of revenge and betrayal consumed the Round Table from within, as even the greatest knights fell to internal feuding rather than external enemies, foreshadowing Camelot's inevitable collapse. Sir Palamedes. Sir Palamedes is the Saracen knight who embodies chivalric ideals despite being an outsider to Christian Europe, eternally pursuing the questing beast while suffering unrequited love for Isolde. As son of King Esclaber, Palamedes arrived at Arthur's court as one of the few explicitly non-Christian knights, though his brothers Saphir and Sigwarides also served at the Round Table. The questing beast he pursued throughout his life was described as a bizarre hybrid creature with a serpent's head, leopard's body, lion's hindquarters, and hart's feet, making a sound like 30 hounds baying from its belly. Palamedes never caught this creature despite dedicating his life to the hunt, dying while still in pursuit. He loved Isolde the Fair hopelessly, challenging Tristan repeatedly for her affection and losing each time, creating a rivalry that lasted years. According to the post-Vulgate suite, Du Merlin and Malory's accounts, Palamedes eventually converted to Christianity and was baptized near the end of his life. Some sources report he was killed by Gawain's brothers, adding him to their list of treacherous murders. Palamedes represents the medieval ideal that chivalric virtue transcends religious and ethnic boundaries, though his perpetual failure to achieve either his quest or his love makes him one of Arthurian legend's most tragic figures, forever striving but never attaining his goals. Sir Mordred. Sir Mordred is Arthur's illegitimate son, conceived through unwitting incest with his half-sister Morgause, whose betrayal destroys Camelot and kills Arthur in mutual combat at Camlan. According to later Arthurian traditions, particularly the Vulgate cycle, Arthur slept with Morgause without knowing she was his half-sister, and when he learned of the resulting pregnancy, he attempted to kill all babies born around that time in an echo of King Herod's massacre, but Mordred survived. Raised by Morgause and King Lot alongside his half-brothers Gawain, Gareth, Gaheris, and Agravain, Mordred grew into a skilled but treacherous knight. He revealed Lancelot and Guinevere's affair to Arthur, motivated by malice rather than loyalty, providing the catalyst for Camelot's fracturing. When Arthur left Britain to wage war against Lancelot in France, he left Mordred in charge as regent. Mordred immediately seized the throne, claimed Arthur was dead, and attempted to force Guinevere to marry him. At the Battle of Camlan, Arthur confronted his son in single combat. Arthur impaled Mordred with a spear, but Mordred pulled himself up the spear shaft to strike Arthur with his sword before dying. Both father and son received mortal wounds, ending Arthur's reign and the dream of Camelot in blood and betrayal, proving the kingdom was built on a flawed foundation from its conception. If you want to see more, click the video on screen now.